if you like betting on golf. But everyone that you back misses the cut. Get some experts involved with all the stats and the tips and so much more. Cause it's the golf betting system, the golf betting system, it's the golf betting system podcast.
Greetings and welcome to the Golf Betting System podcast. It's episode 410. This is our 2026 Fedex St Jude Championship plus Danish Golf Championship tips podcast. Barry O'Hanrahan and Paul Williams join me, Steve Bamford, to discuss this week's PGA and returning DP World Tour action. Good morning, gents.
Good morning, guys.
Morning, guys.
This podcast is for listeners of 18 and above. Please be gamble aware. You can visit gambleaware.org for more information. And of course, please bet responsibly. Visit our world-famous golf betting system website where we have betting previews for the St Jude and Denmark events. Paul has been in the stats lab pulling together this week's data. We have TPC South wind strokes gained rankings, detailed course form, event form, player form and combi sheets, plus new and old predictor models for the PGA and DP World Tour action this week. All of our content is available completely free of charge, no paywall, no registration required. On X, you can follow us. Barry is at A Good Talk Golf. Paul is at Golf Betting. I am at Bamford Golf. On Bluesky, search for Steve Bamford and Paul Williams. Subscribe to the Steve Bamford Golf YouTube channel where this podcast is available each and every week. Now, you guys as listeners power this podcast, so we need your 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts or YouTube. As ever, for those of you who leave a review, I'll read them out at the start of a future show. Leave your name and where you are in the review. This one is entitled, chaps, Toddler Loves the Song. Good morning, guys. I am a huge golf fan from Massachusetts. 2 years ago, I was looking for tips on placing a Masters bet and found your podcast. Great show. I have listened religiously every week since. Great show, guys. You have a big and little fan listening every week here in Massachusetts. That's from Chuck. And clearly he is in the state of Massachusetts in the United States. Chuck, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck.
What a great name as well. Chuck. Gotta love a Chuck, haven't you? No podcast last week. We did have Wyndham Championship content on the Golf Betting System website. I was all over Tom Kim. Gave me a good run for my money. But he just couldn't inevitably keep up with Michael Brennan on Sunday, who had been burning betters for the previous 2 weeks across both Detroit and Minnesota, melting on Sundays. Well, he certainly didn't melt last Sunday. An absolute barrage of birdies. It was Brennan's second PGA Tour win in 27 PGA Tour starts. So yet another young, in this case 24-year-old, what should we call it? A hot shot after Theo Bjornsson and also Koiven over the 2 previous weeks. So the youngsters have really filled their boots in this kind of, what could you call it? This kind of, I wouldn't say off-season, but this kind of, just this where the
phase.
Tournaments have been a little bit weaker pre-playoffs on the PGA Tour.
Mm.
What were your views, chaps, on Mr. Brennan?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was very good. I was obviously annoyed I had him back the week before, and because he melted like an ice cream in the sun last Sunday, I kind of abandoned ship. And yeah, whoops. Look, I'm philosophical about these things. If you can't keep continuing to back players after they've failed. Otherwise, my roster would be significantly larger than it usually is on a given week. I could end up with 50 or 60 players. So, you have to make a decision at some point. But, yeah. he was, I mean, look, lesson learned. Young lad figured it out a week later. It's unbelievable. And yeah, got out there just banging in 5 birdies in a row kind of really grabs the tournament by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah.
With Blues chances at the 3M as well, hadn't he, Barry? So there was a couple of recent weeks where he'd had really good chances in Detroit as well as the 3M the week before, but couldn't produce the Sunday. And then, as you say, nothing of the sort this time round.
I think
just looked immaculate, really, didn't he?
it's just a case of like younger lads, they do or can figure it out when they've had a couple of those near misses. They think of it as a good thing, and it is as well, because you figure out how you feel in those situations. You realize any mental mistakes you made at the time, or how you didn't deal with how you're feeling physiologically in those moments, and kind of figured it out pretty quickly. 2 good weeks in a row. He's like, okay, well, I'm doing a load of things right, so just need to get the last 1 or 2 things lined up better. Yeah. So that's my fault for jumping off, really.
Yeah, I don't think it's kind of a scar tissue thing. It's he put himself into position a couple of times, didn't quite work. Whether it's a couple of adjustments or whether it's just the vagaries of golf and the vagaries of Sundays, and you can have a good day and bad day, and it followed up 2 bad days with 1 very good day, and that ultimately is all that counts. I'm not sure I'd really have Brennan down as the kind of archetypal Wyndham Championship winner, really. Big hitter. That doesn't tend to be the mould, does it?
I think it's changed, though, isn't it? Now you've got Cam Young and Michael Brennan for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Both whackers, mate. On a course that actually does favour accuracy. It was interesting when you looked at the round 4 stats across the Wyndham. All of a sudden, it had become a bombers course, and I suppose it would do when he's banging in 7 or 6 consecutive birdies. But yeah, I know what you're saying. You think of a Lucas Glover or Kevin Kisner winning the Wyndham, not a Cam Young or a Michael Brennan.
Yeah, historically, but these things change, don't they? And perhaps Cam Young has shown other players how you can get round and navigate around this course in a different fashion and succeed, which certainly Brennan did.
Just for those that did it. Sorry, Bragg, continue.
So I was just saying, Brennan just did it at a truly elite driving distance. I mean, he hit just under 70% of fairways, but driving at 329 yards.
It's going to do it.
So he's 3rd in strokes gained off the tee. So the accuracy thing still mattered for him. Anyway, just looking at him at the top of the leaderboard. And then he goes and matches that with being 11th in strokes gained approach. Oh, and in case that didn't help him enough, he was 2nd in strokes gained putting. So the accuracy thing did match up. He just added a bunch of distance.
So we're basically going back to the archetypal long and straight isn't a bad thing.
It would appear so, yeah. Shocking.
Not when you can putt as well.
Oh yeah, well this is the point, Paul. Paul's brought me in perfectly. That is the point. Brennan follows on from Cam Young and Tom Kim across the last 3 of the last 5 renewals. Players that have earned far more of their strokes gained with the putter at the Wyndham than tee to green. So Brennan basically gained 49.5% of his strokes gained tee to green. As you said, Barry, 4.86 with the driver, 5.23 with the approach play. He was negative around the greens, but he gained almost 9 strokes with the putter. That follows on from Cam Young last year gaining 10.34 strokes with the putter, and Tom Kim, of all years, 12.55 with the putter when he won in 2022. That is the point with the Wyndham. It is literally... You know, remember John Rahm at PGA West all those years ago going, oh, it's a putting contest. Well, the Wyndham really is. It really, really is. But yeah, enjoyable. I always like the Wyndham. I always think you've got a chance of winning, and I really kicked myself that I didn't back Michael Brennan last week. Like I'm sure many of us are looking at it retrospectively in the rearview mirror. Strokes gain numbers for the Wyndham, just for those making notes or those looking for a potential line into this week, bearing in mind some of these aren't playing because only it's the top 70 playing the FedEx Cup playoffs this week. Davis Thompson broke many hearts last week. He was number one for tee to green and by a distance and was missing 2 and 3 foot putts for fun, but that is Davis Thompson. Interesting, Paul might make a note of this one. Matt Wallace was second tee to green. Ben James third. Alex Smalley 4. Brennan 5. JT 6. Novak 7. Tied with Cam Young. I think Cam Young lost almost 8 strokes with the putter last week. Jackson Suber at 9 and Doug Gim at 10. Those are your tee to green top 10s for the Wyndham Championship last week. Anything else to say, or should we move on? I mean, we've got a packed show, haven't we? 2 tournaments, so I suppose we should move on.
Yeah.
Just some numbers around the top 70 FedEx Cup playoffs. Now, there's only 69 playing this week because Daniel Berger's a non-starter. But here's a few players that didn't qualify for the playoffs. Keegan Bradley, Tony Finau, Billy Horschel, and probably the biggest of the lot, Brooks Koepka, did not make the playoffs this season. Interesting. And I actually went back to this show last year and we were talking about the fact that none of the 10 that had been promoted to the PGA Tour from the DP World Tour had qualified for the playoffs last season. Well, this season that's different because we've got 2, Christopher Rattan and Jordan Smith, of the top 10 from the last year's race to Dubai, have made it to the playoffs as tour rookies.
Smith's done well.
He has done well.
I was a bit undecided how he would fare this season, but to make it through to the playoffs in your first attempt is pretty good going.
Very good going.
Yeah, we've always known he's had the long game to do well. It's just whether he can complement that with the putter, but it's been good enough for him to get through to where he is. So, yeah, hats off.
That jump is a big jump, so to have made the playoffs is fantastic. And of course, Christopher took out the Quail Hollow, didn't he? Big win earlier this season in May. So there's 2 players that have done very, very well on the PGA Tour as tour rookies. Just to fill the picture completely as well, Alex Fitzpatrick, Jackson Coyven, and Sudarshan Yelamiraju. That's it, Big Yella. They've also made the playoffs as rookies. Now, don't forget, Fitzpatrick didn't qualify from last season's top 10 on the race to Dubai. So Fitzpatrick, Coyven and Sudarshan Yelamiraju make the playoffs as rookies. Again, that to me is a very impressive performance to be able to do that. Very intelligent indeed. Right, let's move on to this week's tournament, the Fedex St Jude Championship. Now, just to run new listeners through this, the FedEx Cup runs these playoffs now. In the old days, this used to be across 4 weeks and used to involve the top 125 players. But these days, we have a 3-week series of tournaments starting this week in Memphis. So we've got 3 consecutive weeks of PGA Tour action. The top 70, although it's 69 this year, in the FedEx Cup standings are eligible to play this week's FedEx St Jude Championship. The top 50 then move on to the BMW Championship, hosted this year. This is an interesting one, chaps. Bellerive Country Club in St. Louis, which I believe hosted the 2017? It was 17 or 18 PGA Championship that Brooks Koepka won.
Yeah, it was around then.
Tiger Woods was second, if I remember correctly. So top 70 this week, top 50 next. There's a cut-off, so 19 won't be going to Bellerive next week. And then the top 30 move on to the Tour Championship at Eastlake. We will know the 2026 FedEx Cup champion on the Sunday, the 30th of August. And just to confirm, for the second year running, that Tour Championship will be a 72-hole straight contest. None of this starting scoring system they had that was an absolute farce. So every one of those 30 players that make it to Eastlake have an equal chance of taking out the FedEx Cup, which I think is a massive improvement. Clearly last year won by Tommy Fleetwood. Still his only PGA Tour victory. Sometimes fact is more wacky than fiction. Right, this week's golf course, TPC Southwind, Germantown, Memphis, Tennessee, a Ron Pritchard 1987 original. It had a PGA Tour redesign at the close of 24 and prior to last year's 25 renewal. Read through some of Justin Rose's comments from his win last year, and he basically said the course has not changed at all since they've made the renovations, apart from a few changes on the greens where breaks are slightly different. He said basically you've got to do exactly the same thing as you used to do pre-renovation. It's a mid-score test. It's medium in length. It is 7,288 yards. It is a traditional par 70 featuring only 2 par 5s. This is where some of the difficulty comes in. 11 of the 18 holes feature water genuinely in play. A lot of that water is in play off the tee. So inaccurate drivers struggle here. Number of sand bunkers 75, acres of fairway 18. Fairways for you agronomy nuts out there. We're dealing with Xeon zoysia grass on the fairways. The rough is 419 Bermuda grass, 3 inches in length, so pretty gnarly. The greens, the new greens, are 4,500 square feet on average. They feature Tiff Eagle Bermuda grass. I believe they used to be Champion. They are now Tiff Eagle, which is a type of grass you see a lot down in Florida, on Florida golf courses. Fairway widths, tight. Now, bearing in mind Sedgefield is, let's work this through, Sedgefield is almost 150 yards shorter last week, and they had fairway widths of 28 yards last for the Wyndham. TPC Southwind, with lots of water also in play, and 3-inch rough, features 25-yard wide fairways on average at 300 yards. So a longer golf course and thinner fairways this week at Southwind. On average, I believe this is in the top 4 for golf courses on the PGA Tour when it comes to a penalty for missing a fairway. Basically, you are losing half a stroke every time you miss the short grass at TPC Southwind. So undoubtedly, this is a course where long and straight is superb, but accuracy is far more important off the tee than outright bombing and bomb and gouge tactics. They just don't work here. Because a lot of the time, your ball's going to end up potentially in the water. I reckon, chaps, and, this isn't reworking the wheel or anything, Justin Rose won at 16 under, Hideki Matsuyama at 17 under, Glover 15 under, Zalatoris 15 under. I'm looking at the weather forecast. There isn't a lot of wind. The temperatures this week are unbelievable. I have to say, I'm not sure I've ever come across a tournament with warmer temperatures forecast. 40 degrees Celsius across both Thursday and Friday, 41 on Saturday, 42 on Sunday. Now, I'm hearing the chatter coming back from from North America saying, what the hell is that in Fahrenheit? 102 to 108 Fahrenheit is due this week in terms of temperatures at this tournament. That is incredible. But I think what that means is you're going to get firm running fairways and you're going to get wet, spongy greens because they have to water them severely just to keep them alive in temperatures like this. So I don't think I wouldn't be surprised if we potentially get to Matsuyama's 17 under par, maybe 18. That's where I see it with a lack of wind.
Yeah. As you say, they're going to have to.
Really.
They're going to have to keep the greens alive. So there's going to be some watering going on at some point.
If ever there was a case for them to let them wear shorts on the PGA Tour, this could be the week. It might be the catalyst for it. I mean, that is very, very hot.
Yeah, and don't go down the Robert Garrigus route from many a year ago and wear kind of light beige slacks. That's not the best when it starts sweating.
Swampy jocks, yeah. You're going through a lot of gloves this week. God, that's I just don't. I'd love a holiday. Everybody would love to go on a holiday, but that just doesn't sound appealing to me at all. Playing in that temperature.
It's I can't recall anything hotter than that. I mean, I'm getting old and my memory is fading badly, but I can't remember anything more hotter than that. Right, Bet365, 8 places each way market. Here are the Tuesday morning UK time prices for the leaders this week. Scotty Scheffler is your 19-4 favourite. McIlroy 11-1. Xander 14-1. Fleetwood 16-1. Cam Young, Sam Burns 18-1. Morikawa, Matsuyama, Oberg, Fitzpatrick 20-1, and then there's a considerable jump out to 28s for JT, Patrick Cantlay, and Siwoo Kim. It's then 30-1 bar. Now, when I pulled my preview together on Monday, I placed 2 of my 4 St Jude bets with Bet365. If you are 18 plus and do not have a Bet365 sports account, you can find details of their bet £10, get £30 in free bets new customer promotion, plus a link through to that very offer with T's and C's in this podcast description. Visit golfbettingsystem.co.uk/365. That's golfbettingsystem.co.uk/365 for £30 of free bets with Bet365. 4 for me. What are your thoughts, chaps, so that we can kind of just make sure we get the running order correctly? My shortest bet is 20-1. So, Paul, where are you coming in at?
Yeah, I've just got 2, and they're both at 20-1 this week. That's how I see it this week.
I get a feeling, and we never confer prior to recording this podcast, listeners, I get a feeling that one of them might be mine.
You might be right.
What about you, Barry? Where are you chiming in, or are you still working it out?
I have a short list, but it's the decision point on who to go for.
What theoretically would be your shortest price?
your first one, just looking at it now, and yeah, maybe your third and fourth ones as well. Or
what?
They kind of, yeah, I know. The things are matching up there. You know, I want somebody in really good long game shape, somebody not too old considering the heat this week. So yeah, they match up. Sue me, you know. Listen, I've piggybacked and jumped on your bets before without doing any research, but I have been doing a bit of looking. I haven't settled my mind on it yet. So,
well, I'll tell you what we're going to do here. I know. It's basically it's my preview, so I normally lead off. But Paul, lead off on your 20-1 chance that I think actually. I mean, this could be embarrassing. That actually, I think marries up with my one.
Yeah, I could pick someone really left field now, couldn't I? No, I have backed Hideki Matsuyama, as have you, and I suspect we can probably convince Barry to do the same. If we can get a compelling enough argument here. But yeah, 20-1, 8 places, a short field I thought was more than acceptable because he does feel really close to me. Third at the 3M, fifth at the Rocket when I was on him, seventh at the Wyndham last week. You mentioned, I think, on the last podcast we did, Steve, that he'd been gaining shots off the tee. And he seems to be doing that with some regularity now. Not massive shots, but he is certainly positive rather than negative. And that is a big positive for where he was earlier in the season, where, quite frankly, he was all over the shop from off the tee. He was second for approach and first for tee to green at the Rocket. He gained nearly 5 strokes putting last week at the Wyndham. That's a green light for me, if ever there is a green light with Hideki Matsuyama. Won here in 2024, as you alluded to earlier. Second in 2021. I think he's got a great chance, Steve, I've got to say. So I can see why you went with him, and I can see why Barry will be frantically adding him to his list now.
Barry, have you added him to your list? No pressure.
It's a staggeringly compelling case to back him. His last 4 weeks, 14th, 3rd, 5th, 7th. He's won here before. He was second 5 years ago. So we know Hideki can win in the heat. So, I mean, it's so blindingly obvious. It feels mad to not bet him. So cue a complete and utter catastrophe, of course, because that's the way golf betting goes. But
well, one thing we can safely say this week is he won't miss the cut because there isn't one.
Nice, Steve. There you
Thank
go.
you.
Rainbows, silver linings.
My mind works in incredibly weird ways. Paul will tell you that. You know, we've worked together for many, many years. My mind works in incredibly strange ways. I can hark back to... Do you remember they used to play that tournament in Malaysia? The CIMB Classic. And that used to be played in intense heat and humidity. JT won it one year. I was on him. But this is... Matsuyama finished 5th, 2nd and 5th there across the last 3 renewals they played across 15s. So that just says to me this guy can play in intense heat and humidity. I don't think that'll faze him. I actually think it frees him up. We know with Hideki he has a lot of back problems. I think conditions like this are absolutely ideal for him. And Paul, you pull together all of the strokes gained analysis across the courses when we can. You know, when we're going back to a certain course each and every year. Hideki absolutely dominates around this golf course.
Yeah. Really strong.
Absolutely dominates. So yes, I'm on Hideki Matsuyama. I managed to, well, when the prices were out, he got hammered on Bet365 early doors. I managed to grab 20-1, 8 places each way with Betfred on my top bet, Hideki Matsuyama, 2 points each way, to win this week's Fedex St Jude Championship. My second bet... Oh, sorry, Paul. Your second 20-1 shot. Go for it.
Yeah. Matthew Fitzpatrick, I've backed. Same terms, same price, same everything. And I just think this is a huge opportunity for Fitzpatrick to really push forward and have a proper shot at the FedEx Cup at East Lake in a couple of weeks' time. He's second behind Scotty going into the standings right now. He's had a fabulous season, as we know. He won the Valspy, won the Heritage, he won the Zurich Classic alongside Alex earlier in the year. 3 top 6 finishes here at TPC Southwind over the years, so we know he can play the course. Well fancied at the Open. That's the only blot, really, of recently. He missed the cut at the Open Championship. That followed 4th at the Travellers and 3rd at the Scottish Open prior to that. His game suits the test. It's got the only slight question mark, but it's going to be a question mark about everybody, is how they handle the conditions this week. But it's going to be hot for absolutely everyone. So should we favour or disfavour someone on the basis of that? I'm not convinced. So yeah, for me it was quite straightforward. Fitz and Hideki, and I hope that one of them goes forward and wins this tournament.
I got burnt by Fitzpatrick at the Open, so as Barry's got burnt by Brennan last week prior to winning. Yeah, that could come FOMO now.
You got FOMO now. Yeah, exactly.
This is just interesting. 5 last FedEx Cup winners, the whole shebang. Cantlay in 21. Cantlay? McIlroy in 22, fair enough. Part of the world's top 2 players. Victor Hovland in 23. Scheffler in 24. World number 1. And last year, Tommy Fleetwood. So just bear that in mind when we get to the Tour Championship. It isn't necessarily a McIlroy Scheffler loving. 3 of the last 5, you could say, were a little bit wacky. This is it. It's all about finding form right now, isn't it, in these playoffs?
Yeah.
And you might find players that haven't had a great major season, and they just, something clicks right now when the big money is being offered, and they just carry it through week to week to week. So it's an interesting one, I think. Form players, catching them is really important in these playoffs. My second bet is Siwoo Kim. 2 points each way, 28-1 with Bet365. I got with Kim, 8 places each way. Now, Matt Fitzpatrick has been mentioned in terms of his poor Open Championship performance. Siwoo Kim was great at the Open. And I'm trying to say, was it kind of, midway through the front 9? He was the leader. He had a huge chance there, Siwoo Kim. And from that point, you could see oil leaking and putts not dropping. And we know with Siwoo Kim, his weakness is his putting. Now, all I will say is, if we're looking at this golf course from a strokes gain perspective, and we were talking about the Wyndham last week, where traditionally, we're getting on for almost half strokes gain being gained across the last 6 renewals with the putter. This is completely different. We're basically looking at 64% tee to green and 36% with the putter. So if you can gain around about a stroke per round with the putter and be exceptional tee to green, mainly through approach play, you've got a great chance. And the one thing I will say about Siwoo Kim is, even though you look at his overall strokes gain number, it is pretty much negative. That, believe it or not, is Siwoo's best putting performance for the last 7 years. He's a terrible putter, but the putter is almost neutral across the season. And I'm seeing that he gained at the Scottish Open 0.9 per round with the putter, at the Open 0.87 per round with the putter. And that wasn't an over flash in the pan, because there's positive putting performances across the Memorial, the Byron Nelson and the PGA Championship. Now, we know with Siwoo, he's absolutely fantastic on shorter setups. He's absolutely fantastic on Bermuda grass setups. All 4 of Siwoo Kim's PGA Tour victories have come on Bermuda grass to this point. Sedgefield, Sawgrass, PGA West, the last one, Wailea Country Club in 23, the Sony Open. I've gone for Siwoo Kim, 28-1 with Bet365, 8 places each way on the South Korean, who actually at the moment heads up qualification for the International President's Cup team across their point system. I think that might, be another thing with Matsuyama. Just the fact that he, you know how these players work. He'd love to win something like this, get a big chunk of OWGR points, and qualify as number one international for the President's Cup in a few weeks' time. It's just these little motivating factors I always try and look for. So Siwoo Kim, 2 points each way, 28-1 with Bet365, 8 places each way. I'm out to 40-1, Barry. So what are you thinking now?
I'm caught between the two of them.
Talk the listeners through your dilemma.
It's a shorter field, so I try to hold myself back from being loose with lots of different picks. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I'd ideally like to stick with 2, maybe 3. There's part of me starting to think, do I hold off some of my stake money going into the tournament and see where things are after 36, 18, 36, 54? So I'm kind of flipping coins between the two, and I might go for the one with the experience. The slightly older one.
Well, I'll tell you what then, I'll jump in. 1.5 points each way, 40-1 with Betfred, 8 places each one. This is the one that Barry's moved away from. There's still chance. I just think this course is made for Tom Kim. And I think some people will look at his history here and go, he's done very well here, but he was 13th here on course debut in 2022. Bearing in mind, that was the week after he'd won the Wyndham. So you'd have thought he might have not been quite on the ball. He just won his first PGA Tour event. He'd been thrown into the playoffs when actually I think he was on a special temporary membership or something like that, winning the Wyndham. So, I don't know. I don't think it was on his... But 13th here on debut, and then in 23, he was 3rd here and 6th here after 36 and 54 holes before collapsing to finish 24th on Sunday. So he clearly gets on with this golf course. And the other thing is, he's 26th currently in the FedEx Cup standings. He's kind of squirreled his way into that top 30. Don't forget, top 30 is a big, important number. Gets you into that Tour Championship. This year, you get in, you've got an equal chance of taking out the FedEx Cup. He can't take his foot off the throttle right now. He's got to continue playing exceptional golf. So I've just gone with him. Tom Kim. Medium length golf course, a par 70, a course that really does encapsulate players that are shorter, straighter, and with great approach games. Yeah, I'm in. Tom Kim, 1.5 points each way, 40-1 I got with Betfred, 8 places each way via their Pick Your Place facility. So Barry, I'll leave you with the honour. I got this particular individual at 50-1 with Bet365, 8 places each way. I've got a point each way. So to talk us through your second selection.
It's only the last few weeks he's come back on the radar. So earlier in the summer, Steve, it might have been like April, May time, was going quite well, popping his head up, and then seemed to have whatever it was, a midsummer blip where things weren't going his way, and he just thought maybe that was it. Maybe that was his little spike, and it's gone. But the last few weeks, things have come back around, and his last 3 outings, 3 top 20s with the eighth place 2 weeks ago, and with a couple of good performances here over the years, including 6th last year when he wasn't playing. I don't think he wasn't playing as well. It's just from the top of my head.
He wasn't.
So together those match up to backing one of my old muckers, as you'd say, Ricky Fowler.
I still think with Ricky, and you see this with Jordan Spieth, you see this with a lot of players. I think mentally they're finished at majors. They just haven't got the strength. But you throw them in at the right level, they still can be competitive. And last year he was 6th at St Jude and he was 7th at the BMW Championship, and he just missed out by a place or two on the Tour Championship. And you mentioned this earlier. Back in April, May, 8th at the Heritage. He's 8th at the Heritage, bearing in mind he missed the Masters. 8th at RBC Heritage, he was 9th at Doral, and he was 2nd in a signature event field at Quail Hollow. Now, that was the event that Christopher Rayton won, and Ricky was in that perfect position, 5-6 back, not a care in the world. He doesn't think he's going to win, and he shoots 65, and he finishes 2nd at a signature event level, the Truist Championship at Quail Hollow. I would just love to see Ricky in the same position on Sunday. 4 or 5 back. He's currently, I think where is he? He's right on that bubble. He's 28th in the standing, so he knows that one good week and he's in the Tour Championship. Now, bearing in mind, he's only qualified for the Tour Championship once since 2019, and that was 2023. So for Ricky to get back to the Tour Championship is a big motivating factor for him. I just think it all kind of lines up. He's playing great golf. He likes the course. He needs to play well to guarantee that Tour Championship spot. I can hear a lot of listeners either cussing the selection or getting right behind it because, this is a pro Ricky Fowler podcast, isn't it? Golf Betting System pod. We love a bit of Ricky Fowler. So, yeah, I'm in as well. So, for me, Fowler, Tom Kim, Siwoo Kim, Hideki Matsuyama. Should be a great tournament, I think, the Fedex and Jude Championship. Should be an absolute cracker. Paul, let's move forward to the returning DP World Tour Championship. DP World Tour. We have the Denmark Golf Championship at a new venue, I believe.
Yes, they do like to throw these new venues at us over in Europe. We'll get into that in a second. But yeah, Danish Golf Championship. We've had the Made in Denmark. We've had the Made in Himmerland. And now they've just simply renamed this as the Danish Golf Championship. So that's, we know exactly what it is, don't we? It's a low-key 144 runner event to get us back up and running on the DP World Tour after their summer break, should we call it? Summer hiatus. Eugenio Shakra is the favourite, 14-1. Shakra looking for his 3rd win of the season. Had some cracking results a couple of months back. Rasmus Højgaard 16-1. Rasmus Nergaard Pettersson 18-1.
Did you say that correctly?
Yeah, sort of.
Nergaard Pettersson.
It wasn't with quite the level of gusto, I would say. Angelo Jora, 18-1. Oliver Lindell, 20s. Thorbjorn Olesen, 25s. Jacob Skov Olesen, no relation, 25-1. 30-1 bar those players. So, yeah, fairly regular kind of events. Similar to what we often see in this particular Danish event, where you get some support from some of the named local Danes who come across, and then it's just a fairly humdrum kind of field beyond that. Anyway, from a betting perspective, I think there's something for us to get our teeth into. Ladbrokes and Coral have gone 7 places, a fifth of the odds this week. Betfred, Bet365 both got their extended markets going this week. 8 and 10 places for Fred, 8, 10 and 12 for Bet365. So do shop around. Barry, you'll be delighted. I have actually gone with 10 place options on 3 of my 4 picks this week by digging deeper into the market.
Geez, the bookies have definitely enjoyed their summer holidays if they're doing 10 places on the DP World Tour.
Well, yeah, this is it. I think the break's done me some. Has it done me some good or some bad? I don't know. It's perhaps it's just changed my outlook on.
When Paul released his tips, I read them and I literally collapsed on the floor to my knees with 10 places each way.
Yeah, typo. Typo.
Yeah, so cue some T11s coming in, but we'll see. It is a new venue this week, as Steve alluded to. It's the Great Northern Golf Club at Kerteminde, which I believe is the correct pronunciation. Apologies to any Danes if I've butchered that. It's a 7,314 yard par 72. It's a Jack Nicklaus design, opened back in 2017, so it's a modern style course. It is exposed though, wide fairways, large greens, water in play on a number of the holes. So I don't want to use the L word because it's not a links, but if you look at some of the pictures, you can see how exposed and water fueled the holes are. The 4 par 5s, the longest is the 5th hole, which is 604 yards. The other 3 par 5s between 535 and 577 yards. So in good conditions with the wide fairways, I think there's going to be the green light for players to have a pop at some of these par 5s. There's also a short par 4 16th, so as we come to the business end of the tournament, that may prove to be part of the conversation. We've got island greens, lots of water, as I say. It looks like really good fun, the course. So looking forward very much to seeing how this actually plays. Now, in terms of how it will play, we're a little bit in the dark because we've never played it from a DP World Tour perspective. There have been some very low-key Nordic events played here in the past, so not terribly helpful in terms of the field that are playing this week, but it does give us a little bit of a clue as to the how the course might play. These were 54-hole events, and generally the winning score, or the winning scores, were between 3 under and 14 under for 54 holes, so there was quite a bit of variance. And if you look at some of the scoring that was achieved during that times, we do move from low 60s and some easier renewals to players shooting mid to high 70s. So it does look very much like the kind of course that is shaped, given its exposed nature, by the strength of the wind. And it does look like we're going to get a little bit of wind this week to keep the players honest and to give us a little bit of interest, I think. Thursday and Friday, a warm, sunny couple of days, southerly breeze, picking up a little bit on Friday. And then the wind switches to the west over the weekend, and we're seeing 15, 17 mile an hour average, so gusting higher than that over the weekend and peaking on Sunday. So the actual deciding elements of the tournament on Sunday could well be shaped by the strength of the wind. So it should keep it quite fluid and should keep it quite interesting, I think, as we go through the 4 days. Now, there isn't anything we can go through in terms of statistics for the course. We do have previous winners of this event. I'll just read through them quickly to fill the gap, seeing as there's no stats. 2014, Mark Warren, 30-1. David Horsey the year after, 80s. Thomas Peters, 12-1. Julian Suri, 60-1. Matt Wallace in 2018, 40-1. I remember being on Matt that week. That was the one where he needed to win to try and force his way onto the Ryder Cup team, which ultimately failed. 2019, 2021, either side of COVID, Bernd Wiesberger won both of those events at 70 and 20-1. Ollie Wilson, 2022, 200-1. And then more recently, Rasmus Højgaard 22s, Frederick Lacroix in 2024. I believe you were on him that week, Steve, from memory. 33-1. And then Marco Penge won the second of his 3 titles in this event last year at 18-1. So we've got a real mix of winning prices, 12-1, 18, 20s, 22. So we've got some shorties in there, 30, 33s, and then also some much longer prices. Ollie Wilson, 200-1. So yeah, not the kind of event where you might go one way or another in terms of where you pitch your team in terms of prices. I think it's just based on who you think might go well. There's very little in terms of correlation in terms of current form and event form from the players who have won here. The last 3 winners, though, did all have a top 3 finish in one of their last 3 starts, so maybe that's worth looking at. But of course, we're going to a new event, or new venue rather, and bear in mind, many of this week's field won't have played since early July. I get it. Those that weren't involved with the Scottish Open and the Open Championship may well be coming into this off the back of a month or more of inactivity. So I think that does need to be borne in mind. Now, I've backed 4 this week. I've got a couple relatively short, and then I'll bring you boys in for before I go through a couple of longer prices. I've backed 4 of the players near the top. The one that appealed to me most was Rasmus Højgaard. Now, I backed him at 14-1 with 10 places with Betfred, generally 16. So I thought the 14s with 10 was actually really good value. And it gives us a really good scope for him to achieve a return. I think he can win it, though. Eugenio Chakra's got to be respected at the top. Gone off the boil a little bit, I think, after his 2 wins earlier in the year. Angel Eora was the 3rd favourite. He was kind of the tied 2nd favourite when I published. Coming into this off the back of 3 miscuts on the trot, it just seems to be immovable in the betting, doesn't budge despite the performances. So I can't go there. I mentioned the inactivity for some players. Not the case though for Rasmus. He's been plugging away over on the PGA Tour, trying to see if he could get close to making the playoffs. He finished 4th at the Rocket Classic, which was his real chance of forcing his way in. That was the week before last. He shot a Saturday 61, really impressive that week. It did leave him a little bit too much to do in terms of making the playoffs. Up to 107th, though, in the FedEx Cup standings. So when they resume normal events post-Eastlake, there's plenty for Rasmus to be focused and certainly plenty for him to aim for. Now, for me, he's a quality player in this field. It's definitely a drop down in level. He won this title back in 2023 when it was the Made in Himmerland. He was 2nd last year. I get the reason that Chakra is at the top, 2 wins recently, or relatively recently. For me, on home soil, Rasmus should be the favourite for this. So I'm quite happy to back him accordingly. And the other one, relatively short, and then I'll bring you boys in. Jacob Skov Olathan, I've backed at 25-1. That was with 7 places with Ladbrokes, still available as we record this, 8:30 on Tuesday morning. Another Dane, he's still to win his maiden title, but he's one of those players that you'd put into that bracket of winner in waiting. He's very much capable, or very capable, I think, of taking out a title of this stature. Exposed Test Sue, we've seen him show some good form on exposed tracks, linksy tracks over the recent past. He was 1st round leader at last year's Open, 3rd at the Nexo Championship over at Trump Aberdeen, 5th at the Dunhill Links 2. And some cracking form this year. 3rd in Qatar, 5th in Kenya, 4th in Turkey, 2nd in Belgium, 6th last time out of the Corrales. And what really caught my eye was his putting recently, 4th and 1st for strokes gained putting over his last 2 starts over on those co-sanctioned PGA Tour events. So again, you could argue he's dropping down in terms of level just a little bit this week. And just one of those players that when he wins, and when he wins soon, it will be no surprise to anyone who has observed him or observed DP World Tour golf of late. Now, my next one, I've got 2 more, one at 60s and one at triple digits. So let's bring you boys in, see if you've got any interest in this tournament. Barry, let's start with you. Any backs, or anyone you're backing this week?
Well, the first thing I noticed about this is the clubhouse looks unbelievable. Really cool looking place. So, and then just trying to get a visual feel for it because it's new. I don't know, got a little bit of a Golf Nacional vibe about it. Yeah. No, I'd agree. Yeah. I guess it was the island green helps straight away, and so just trying to get a feel for that. comp courses and who might go well. That's kind of where I've got to so far. Don't have a dead pick yet, and you know what? I might not back anybody before the tournament because I just think a lot of them are coming off 3-4 week holiday breaks. How do they hit the ground running? It feels even more gambly than usual to be backing players before this event kicks off, before it starts. So I'm open to being manipulated though. If yeah, if I hear something compelling in the next 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about the Golf National, because when I first eyeballed it last week, I frantically went through the early entry list to see if Guido was playing, because there have been signs of life sporadically with him, and we tend to find that you get a good price with him when he plays, because he is massively inconsistent, but can switch it on that kind of course. But yeah, sadly, he wasn't in the list and didn't appear subsequently. So yeah, that early thought disappeared from my mind. But yeah, I do like the Le Golf National as a comp course to look at. Steve, any back or anyone you're backing for this?
I've gone for one silver bullet. 45-1 I got. Spread X, 6 places each way. Caleb Surratt. Now, this shows you where golf politics is at the moment. This is a 23-year-old who signed a 3-year deal with Liv and has played with them pretty much exclusively through 24, 25 and 26. Now, we're in this world at the moment where young talents are just turning up and winning golf tournaments. He's an interesting chap. He's in the Data Golf Top 200. He plays for Legion 13 in Liv alongside John Rahm, Tyrrell Hatton and Tom McKibbin. So he's clearly surrounded by talented sorts. He was 5th at Liv Golf UK up in Staffordshire a couple of weeks ago, where he was mixing on the leaderboard with the likes of Abraham Ansah, Laurie Cantor and Varn III, who went on to finish second last week in New York. And Surratt was 15th in that particular event. He shot a crappy 76 in round one, but if you just looked at how well he played from that point, he was T6 for last 54 holes scoring, and he was T7 for last 36 holes scoring at that Trump national course, Bedminster, or Bedminster. So he's clearly playing some good golf, is this Caleb Surratt. I think he's played a DP World Tour event in the past, which was a few years ago at the Links Championship. But what I did notice about him is he played an international series event at Fox Hills in Surrey 2 years ago, where he finished T2 behind Peter Uihlein, and he was T2 with Andy Sullivan. So he's clearly a talented sort, and his 2 visits to Northern Europe that I've noted, 2nd in Surrey, and he was 5th in Staffordshire a couple of weeks ago. So would suggest that the agronomy and the geography will work for him this week in Denmark. So yeah, bit of a punt, but why not? Caleb Surratt, 45-1. I got that with Spread X, 6 places each way on the 23-year-old American.
Yeah, interesting. There are a few live players in the field, as you'd expect, but Lucas Herbert was supposed to be playing this and was in the entry list until really quite late. So he would have been an interesting one in the market had he have played. He would have been right up there in terms of favouritism, I'm sure, given what he's done over on Live recently. But decided to knock it on the head. Yeah, an interesting name, Surratt. I'll be fascinated to see how he goes this week. The other two I've backed, 60-1 I got with 10 places. Joe Dean. And Joe Dean seems to be rounding into some form. 10 cuts made in his last 12 starts, third at the KLM Open. Again, that might not be a bad comp course for this as well. The KLM Open played before we went into the kind of the links part of the schedule prior to the Open Championship. Ninth also at the BMW International, so there was some good form before the Open. He did win that last chance qualifier, you may recall, to get that final spot at Royal Birkdale. Shot 72-72 to miss the weekend at Birkdale, but no disgrace in that overall. I think he did really well to make his way through to the field, and the euphoria of having made that, or to have won that mini tournament on the Monday. Fifth in this in 2024. He was second at the Nexo last year. That was the first start after the tour's summer break. So it has shown that he can get himself back into the groove quite quickly and brush off any rust, shake off any rust that he may have, and get back into the swing of things in double quick time. I think Joe Dean's a nice each way chance this week, and plenty to fight for in terms of the race to Dubai in 75th spot, so can have those end of season lucrative events very much on his radar with a good finish or two between now and then. The other one I've backed is Jong Won Ko at 250-1. I backed with 10 places with Bet365. Again, you can get slightly longer if you prefer to take the bog standard. I think we'll need every single place we can possibly get with Ko. So I took the 250s with 10. He's caught the eye, though, on a few occasions lately. 25th at the Italian Open, 30th in Germany, and 21st at the co-sanctioned ISCO Championship. And it's just been some of those inter-round positions that I've been eyeballing and have thought he's pretty just worth a punt. Top 10 after 18 or 36 or 54 holes at various points in some of those efforts. Something stirring there, and something certainly stirring with his putter. First, third, seventh and second for strokes gained putting over his last 4 outings. Just needs to find his long game, but he can do that. He showed in Paris last year that when it all clicks, he can play some particularly good stuff from tee to green too. He was second for approach and third for tee to green that week. Second overall at the French Open. That is today his best finish at DP World Tour. In fact, his best finish as a professional. And if he can get anywhere close to that at 250-1, then I'll be more than happy. It just needs to put it all together. The putter's certainly there. Just needs to find something with the long game, and we'll see how he goes. But yeah, giving Jong Won Ko a go, Joe Dean, Jacob Skov Olesen, and Højgaard of the Rasmus variety. And that's me.
I think that's us, isn't it, as a podcast?
That's me. Yeah, us all done.
Well, I mean, as an episode, as a podcast, sounds like we're wrapping up the thing altogether.
Yeah, well, we kind of are, because we're not back again next week, but I'm disappearing on another week's holiday, listeners, so no podcast next week. So are you available for the week after that, Paul, or are you disappearing?
I'm in Spain the week after, so yeah, the next one will be for the Amiga Masters, which will be 3 weeks today.
We're having a bit of a summer sojourn, aren't we, this year? With our
summer
podcast.
Sabbatical,
yeah. As we disappear to climes that are not as warm as England, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but there you go. That's the wacky world we live in these days. I hope your bets go well, chaps.
Yeah, best
you
luck,
too, boys.
Best of luck to listeners. GBS will have its usual content in terms of its written content and all of its data, but no podcast for a couple of weeks. I hope you enjoyed this one, and we will see you again on the other side. See you soon.
If you like betting on golf, But everyone that you back misses the cut. Get some experts involved with all the stats and the tips and so much more. 'Cause it's the golf betting system, the golf